Okay, moving on to our third story. I can hear you laughing. On to our third story of the evening as well. Now, for the longest time, NASCAR Hall of Famer Mark Martin has been consistent about one thing. He doesn't like the current playoff format. Now, last month, Martin went on Kenny Wallace's podcast to go off about the current state of NASCAR. Now, Martin said that the integrity of the sport meant a lot to him and feels like his accomplishments are being diminished by gimmicks such as the playoffs. Here's a small clip from Wallace's podcast. Here in Martin's own words, what he thinks of the playoffs, among other things. The photo courtesy here of Getty Images.
The word playoff is very catchy. It's wonderful, except we ain't playing. Nobody plays, and there's not two people out there. It's not the same as ball sports. And I don't like it being called playoffs because it's not a playoff. Even the championship last round, if it was really a playoff, there'd be 4 cars on the track, not 36. I don't like calling it overtime. I'd rather call it green, white, checkered. Our races aren't timed. They're trying to make it like ball sports because the TV people, and I've heard this from some, they want the casual fan to be able to relate to the other ball sports because they think that those fans might watch. And if they flip over there and they're not a race fan, but they see sparks flying and everybody running over each other on these restarts, they might watch. The problem is when that's not going on, they might not watch. The old people, they'll watch it all, except they don't like what they're seeing now. So maybe they won't. And I think there's a problem with all that.
Now, yesterday, a short conversation on Sirius XM NASCAR radio between Danielle Trotta and Larry McReynolds really upset lots of fans and industry members. They were discussing the continued argument between those who are pro and anti-playoffs. Now, shortly after that, a fan reached out to Martin on X to inform him about what happened on Sirius XM. He said as well, I'll read the tweet first. Hey Mark, Sirius XM Channel 90 threw shade on you without saying your name, but I knew they were talking about you in regards to wanting the old points system back. Larry McReynolds referred to you simply as a driver who has never won a championship. I was disgusted by that. Marks replied in a quotation tweet saying, they want a system that is different than what the majority of NASCAR Cup fans want. I just want the majority of fans to get what they want. Later on, Trotta responded to this thread and left a message for Martin, saying as well, Daniel said, Mark, you know I love you, but what we got is a whole lot better than what we used to do. We need a playoff. We need eliminations. We need to reward winning and consistency. This format does it all and is highly entertaining. Mark replied, no, we don't. Now, let's take a look at the clip that everybody has got fired up about.
They have these committees now where drivers sit in, and I'm not going to mention the driver that's on the playoff committee that I have heard is screaming loudly to go back to that system, and I pray to God everyone in NASCAR inside that room.
I bet it's a driver that's not won a championship. Would I be
Correct.
right on that? Bingo.
Correct.
You got a winner, Johnny.
Let's keep moving forward, not backward.
Well, Denny Hamlin has said pretty disrespectful to one of the best to ever strap in. Everyone assumed that they were referring to Martin as the driver to never win a championship. McReynolds flat out denied that he was taking a shot at him. Larry Macker said, absolutely not true. Mark Martin is my hero. I'm proud to call him a friend. If you would listen closely, it's a driver that is active and on the council. I find it so hard to believe how you folks come up with this stuff sometimes. Now, about an hour before tonight's show, Trotta posted on X in defense of what happened yesterday on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, stating, sorry to disappoint those that made false assumptions, but I never mentioned or referred to Mark Martin yesterday when a caller asked about playoff format. I didn't know Mark was on the playoff committee until we spoke by phone after the show. Mark is a championship caliber driver and a Hall of Famer who I respect very much. We had a great conversation and respect our differences in opinion. Brackets, what a novel idea. Close brackets. He and I both want to see NASCAR be successful and believe respectfully discourse is a great way to achieve that goal. I'm deeply disappointed by those online that took my words out of context and made false assumptions, which were potentially damaging and irresponsible. Let's strive to be better to each other and enjoy the sport we all love. Now, whether the driver they're referring to as Martin or someone like Denny Hamlin, one thing is clear. The Hall of Famer remains passionate about the sport he loves. As Jeff Gluck from The Athletic stated, Martin never won a championship in the full season format that he wants to see return, which can only increase his credibility on this subject. Well, Ben's back with us for this one as well. I'm going to start off with a question for him tonight as well. Are Trotta and Larry Mack out of touch with how the majority of people feel about the playoffs? And is it disrespectful to suggest that a driver who didn't win a championship shouldn't have a seat at the table?
Well, first of all, good evening, Josh. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening.
Want to thank Joe Samaniego for filling in for me on Encore Monday night. I've been doing a lot of traveling recently, and people should maybe be thankful that I'm a little jet lagged. Otherwise, I think I'd be a little more fired up than I already am. I don't even know where to begin. This is so disrespectful. It's so condescending, quite frankly, from two individuals who I think should know better. I respect Larry McReynolds. I respect Danielle Trotta. I can't really say I respect this. First of all, whichever driver they were referring to, it really doesn't matter, right? I mean, we all know. And Larry said, guy that hasn't won a championship, who's been the most vocal among drivers who haven't won a championship? We could already narrow it down to 2 to 3. If you're going to be bold enough to throw this kind of discourse out there, at least tell us, make it clear who you're talking about rather than trying to walk it back here with comments a day later based on how social media reacts to it. That was incredibly frustrating from my perspective. I don't think you win people over by saying, let's move forward, not backward. Let's pray to God that NASCAR doesn't listen to these people. You attack the argument. You don't attack the individual. You don't take a shot at them and say, oh, they never won a championship. And thank you to Jeff Gluck for pointing out that the fact that Mark Martin didn't win a championship, he did everything but, I guess, aside from winning a Daytona 500 as well, and he came very close to doing that also. He finished second 5 times, one of which wasn't even under a full season format. It was under the Chase format in 2009. The fact that he wants to go back to a format or wants fans to get what they want in going back to a format where he didn't win a championship only increases his credibility when it comes to this subject. We've heard Joey Logano talk countless times. Who in their right mind wants to go back to how we used to do things? The guy's won 3 championships under this format. What do you expect him to say? So the fact that Mark is saying this as somebody who hasn't won a championship, I think only strengthens his case rather than weakening it. And then for the discourse to continue here today, I mean, people know where I stand on the issue of playoffs. And again, I think Mark brilliantly said it in that clip there as well. Why do we call it playoffs? You don't play racing, you race. Why do we call it overtime? This isn't a timed sport. It's so incredibly frustrating, but to see it continue today, and Ryan Blaney, another champion of the sport, to get on Sirius XM and talk about how, under the old format, under a full season format, you could have a guy win 8 races, but not win the championship. Have we forgotten that just 5 years ago, Kevin Harvick won 9 races and didn't win the championship? Have we forgotten that hypothetically and theoretically, it would never happen because there's so much parity in the sport, but you could, in theory, win 35 races in a season under this format and then finish 4th in the 36th and not even finish top 3 in the championship? Have we forgotten about that? Have we forgotten that Matt Crafton won a championship in the Truck Series under this format without winning a single race at any point in the season? You want to talk about a format that emphasizes winning. Winning, you're in. Winning is what matters above all else. And yet you have drivers that have such dominant seasons. I mean, it could have happened to Kyle Larson. He had 9 wins going into the finale in 2021. He thankfully got his 10th win and won the championship that he thoroughly deserved. But had his pit crew not stepped up in the clutch, we could have been talking about him the same way that we talk about Kevin Harvick. So, I mean, again, I would love to have a conversation with whether it's Danielle Trotta or Larry McReynolds or anybody on social media who likes the format that we have, who defends the format that we have, could you give me a defense of the format that you like rather than shooting down people who don't? And I'm reminded of what Pete Pistone said a couple years ago when people say we shouldn't have a playoff in NASCAR. You need to get to some sort of group to get over yourself because we're not going backwards. Come on, man. Like, can you at least tell me why you like what we have now? Tell me what you appreciate. Tell me why you think it's better, and I'll listen to you. I don't think you're going to win me over. It's been over a decade at this point, and I'm still convinced that the Latford system is the way to go, or at least some sort of full season championship format. Maybe you give a higher emphasis for wins over second places if you want to emphasize winning a little bit more. That's fine. But the champion, in my view, should be who was the best driver over the course of a season, not who got hot at the right time, who survived a quintuple overtime finish at Nashville and then got fortunate when Alex Bowman got disqualified following the final round of 12 race to get back into the round of 8, and then won the 2 races he needed to win the championship, even though he only had a 17.1 average finish. I'm not calling Joey Logano an undeserving champion for last year. I'm just saying when you look at the season that he had, all power to him for manipulating the system to his advantage. The rules are the same for everybody. I get all that. But you cannot look at the season that he had and say that he was even a top 5 driver all throughout the season, let alone the best driver who 50 years from now, when people look back in the history books and they say, oh, Joey Logano, 2024, he must have been the driver of the year, the one that everybody had to beat week in and week out. And maybe they look further down the page and they see he only had a 17.1 average finish, but you're not going to see that at first glance. So that's what I want from my champions. That's the argument that I'm making. And when people get on, and I don't want to throw too much shade at SiriusXM here, but it does seem like they are consistently, and their hosts are consistently the source of these conversations here. When we hear people say these sorts of things, it does nothing to win my side over. Why is so much of the argument attacking the people on the other side rather than the arguments on the other side? And the last point I'll just make about this, I thought it was very ironic, the last thing that Danielle Trotta said, let's move forward, not backwards. Have you ever taken a look at the television ratings chart from 2004 to the present day, the last 20 years or so? Have you noticed the direction that the chart has continued to move in year after year? Maybe it's been stable, here in the 2020s, maybe it's trending back up a little bit, but you want to talk about taking the sport backwards. Have you, again, just the TV ratings, the attendance, the amount of grandstands that we've torn down, the fact that we continue to look back at races from 15, 20 years ago and see where we used to be and how can we get back to where we used to be, and we don't link the two together, we don't see the common denominator. Do you know more people watched the season finale in 2003 when Matt Kenseth had already clinched for championship? I think all he had to do was take the green flag. Maybe he didn't even have to do that. We hear all the time people say, oh, no, nobody's going to watch if the championship's already decided. It's boring. You just have to go through the motions, everything. More people watch that race than watch the Daytona 500 here in the 2020s. I just want everybody to think about that for a second. You constantly say nobody's going to watch, and yet you had more people watching back when that was the format than are watching the format now. And to Mark's point about trying to bring in the casual racing fan doesn't seem interested in what we're doing. The ratings haven't gone up. If anything, they've gone the opposite direction. And you've had the opposite effect. Instead of bringing those casual fans, those stick and ball sports fans in, you make the comparisons to the 2007 Patriots that, it's a complete apples and oranges comparison to make. Those fans haven't been coming in, and the fans that have been watching for decades have seemed to be pushed out. So again, it is so incredibly frustrating that we cannot, and I said this on this very show last November when all the Martinsville insanity was going down. The biggest defense of the playoff system to me appears to be complaining about other people complaining about the system. And I just wish that for once we could actually have a conversation about the strengths of each of these formats, the strengths of each of these sides of the argument, rather than just completely dismissing people like myself who feel very strongly that we should determine our champions over the course of a full season. And count Mark Martin among that, I guess, count Denny Hamlin among that, whoever this driver was that they were referring to. And I know, again, they've tried to walk back some of their comments, but also at the same time have accused the fans of making assumptions. And it's so incredibly frustrating. And again, I feel like I'm rambling here. I'm talking in circles. I'm going to let Matt get a word in here so I can take a breath, take a sip of my Baja Blast and try to calm down a little bit. But I am so tired of not even being given the chance to be heard out, because if you like how we used to do it, then you're stuck in the past and you don't want to keep the sport moving forward. I think it is incredibly condescending and incredibly disrespectful, especially to somebody of Mark Martin or Denny Hamlin's caliber, somebody who's in the Hall of Fame and somebody who, unless they hold a grudge like they have for Smokey Yunick all these years with how this lawsuit's going out, Denny Hamlin's going to be in the Hall of Fame the second he's eligible as well. So again, I just, the constant putting down of people on this side of the argument is just, I'm over it. I'm over it. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Points are rising from what Ben has said and what Josh did as a story and the clips that we heard. Assumption, tremendously small word, massive big consequences. Everyone assumed, based off of one person's reply to that clip, that everyone was talking about Mark Martin when that was clearly not the case. And seemingly it was, I'm going to go with, they were talking about Denny Hamlin. So that's point A. Point B, every time we have a generally calm Sunday where there isn't massive drama in playoff land, we'll get to that in a moment, or we have a crazy finish or a disqualification or anything newsworthy, we come back to this on social media every single time. And as Ben says, it's been in since whatever year now. It's not going away. I have been a full-time NASCAR fan in this system only. I don't know it any other way. I enjoy it. I think it's good. You can get to September, and I'll align with maybe Formula One on this, where the point leader is clear. He's not being caught. Perhaps he has a few duff races in the fall, but it's done. Take the Michael Schumacher era in Formula One, for instance. He had a championship wrapped up in July one year. In this format, we still get the storylines. We get the drama of the playoff cut-line bubble. I mean, look, at the moment, we have the seeding drama of, well, he didn't have a great weekend last weekend, but all of a sudden it was, oh my goodness, SVG is going to be seed number one. We never saw this coming. Some of us did. We have a regular season championship battle that's damn close between 5 or 6 people. We're not talking about that, are we? Cut line bubble drama going on pre obviously the playoffs beginning in September, and then every 3 weeks we get cut line bubble drama and storylines and great racing and sometimes not so great racing, and it keeps the news cycle going round. If you had a points full season system over this massive season that we have of 38 races, whatever it is, you're going to have tremendous gaps between people in the point standings where win points wouldn't vault you like they do with the playoff system. I'm not going to defend everyone's opinions. Everyone's got the right to their opinion, but opinions are like noses. Everybody's got them. Some people's opinion or nose is more nice to look at than others. The TV ratings comment that you made, Ben, if you roll back to 2003, the internet really wasn't a thing. Netflix, gone. Disney Plus, Apple, Amazon, all of that. People are watching that stuff every single day of the year, and they're not watching linear TV anymore. That is just a simple fact. I can't remember what year it was now in the UK, the BBC, who did not show the Champions League, got a Champions League game moved back by half an hour so that 7.5 million people could watch Phil Mitchell get shot on EastEnders. The Champions League game that Liverpool were in was on ITV. That stuff will not ever happen anymore. Granted, that's parochial to the UK. You're going to get people watching that because that's all they had. If you were sat in on a Sunday afternoon and it was raining and there wasn't much else going on, stick the race on. Now we've got a myriad of options. You can just sit on Instagram for 3 hours while there's a cup race going on. TikTok, Netflix, YouTube. We're here. We're on YouTube right now. Prime, all the others. Eyeballs are not fixed in a certain position of television anymore. We need to stop going after TV ratings. I know it's difficult. I know we have to hark back to it all the time. We're not in the same world in 2025 as we were in 2022, 2023. It's just not. You can't compare. It's like comparing the champions of, oh, he's the greatest of all time against such and such different eras. We have that conversation all the time. We can't compare TV ratings in the same minutiae. I'm sorry. I'll never get that.
I feel like we're in a round table right now.
Maybe a round table that's getting on. I'm tired enough as it is.
I'm gonna let you finish, but I do have some responses to that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And I'm sure there's comments that we've got to read too. There's nothing wrong with the system that we have. It's the people that complain about it that's the problem. That's my end point. If you just took it for what it was, every 3 weeks or whatever, it's entertaining.
Ben?
And granted,
should
sorry, quickly, one more thing to add on. I agree with you about your Joey Logano point. Absolutely agree. And more of this stuff has come about over the last month or so because Shane Van Gisbergen's winning races. He's in the playoffs, but he's way down the regular season championship points. I've said this for the last 3 or 4 weeks on this show. He's doing the job he's employed to do. Give the guy a break.
Yes, I have not. Listen, I have no problem with SVG being the.
But other people have.
It's not his fault that this is the system that we have in Trackhouse. Yeah, more power to them.
Yeah.
Should we be determining our champions based on the entertainment value or based on the strength of our drivers' seasons? That would be my response to that.
Yeah.
I've got a solution. You want to hear it?
Go on.
Get rid of the if you win, you're in. That would solve everything. If you get rid of if you win a race, you're automatically in the playoffs. How much would that make everything better? Because if you can still have your playoffs, yeah, but just redo it then. Give it back. Just get rid of this if you win, you're in automatic rubbish. Because that's the only reason why everyone last year was complaining about Logano, was because he won, 3 races? And he won the 3 races he needed to win. Get rid of the automatic you're in, and the season becomes a lot better. Because you still get the regular season, you still get the cut, and then you still get the playoffs, and you still get the eliminations week upon week. It just makes it better to watch. And then you're not having everybody running away. Was that the chase format then?
The chase format would have been the top 10 in points after gets reset. Everybody gets brought back together, and then you sprint to the finish. And quite frankly, at this point, I will take that over what we have now. I think that's a good compromise from what, because I understand that, again, people want to. I hate bringing up the stick and ball comparisons, but people want to compete against the NFL. You don't want to end your season in August. I guess that's the direction that IndyCar has gone here. But again, Matt, to your point about TV ratings as well, it's not. I get what you're saying. I know that all sports and everything. I say all sports. The NFL just broke records again with the Super Bowl, but all sports aside from the NFL, for the most part, are in decline. All TV ratings are in decline. I'm a game show fan. I follow stuff that goes on here in the States and in the UK. I remember when 19 million people in the UK, 1 in 3 of the British population, were watching a single episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's never going to happen again. I get all that, but it's the amount. It's the rate at which the ratings have declined, the rate at which they have tanked, the rate at which they have nosedived, and the fact that they have not been able to rebound in any sort of way, shape, or form. Contrasted to how other sports have kind of a graphic that looks a little bit like this. It goes up and down a little bit. With NASCAR, you look at their chart from the mid-2000s, then into the 2010s, now into the 2020s, and it's just a pretty steady decline all the way down. If the system was designed to bring people in, I don't see how it's doing that right now.
Yes, I don't disagree with that, but even since the pandemic, there's even more streaming services, giving more people more opportunities to go and watch elsewhere.
The system was brought in before the pandemic. The ratings were declining before the pandemic. So that's
Are we in agreement that we need something to change in the system, though? Like, we can keep the playoff format the way to maximize. Does the actual way it works need to change in order to be modern? That's the question. Because if you think about it, Netflix.
I'll let Matt take it. I think my answer is pretty obvious. But
you've got Prime, who've got 5 races, and they were the best 5 races that everybody's agreed has been on television for NASCAR for decades. Everyone loved it. There was barely any complaints. But then you've got Netflix, who have their reality show like Drive to Survive Formula One, but that solely takes place around the playoffs. So NASCAR still sees the playoffs as forget the other 20 odd races a year that we all watch and put effort and time into. The effort is on these last 16 races. So do we need to sort of redo how that format works? Keep the premise, just redo how it looks. Because as I thought, if you get rid of the in to win, everything suddenly becomes a lot more interesting.
I mean, this is, I think, part of the problem with a message from Matthew Owens, who says, "I despise not being on with you guys right now." Hello, Matthew. This is the part of the problem with the season being so long as well. If it was 20 races, there wouldn't be a playoff. It heightens everything because it's compacted down, perhaps.
I don't know about that either. It's been what, 2001, I think, was when we went to 36 races, right?
30. Yeah.
So
something like that.
I don't know, and again, it's like the same discussion the NBA's having right now with the rise in injuries. They're like, oh, you play too many games. How many years have we been playing 82 games? How many years have we had, a calendar of at least 30, 32, 36 races? Like, I don't know if that's necessarily. I think we could go down a little bit. I've been advocating for 30 to 32. I think that's a good number to land on, but I don't know if having 36 races. I mean, F1's boomed from 17 to 24 races. And Max Verstappen's been running away with it. Do you see F1 fans saying, "Oh, look at what NASCAR is doing"? That's a really great system to ensure that their championship goes down to the checkered flag in the last race. We got to bring something like that to Formula One. I don't see any F1 fans really clamoring for that.
Hello, 2021, my old friend.
But I'm glad you brought that up, Matt, because aside from how the race ended with a safety car, what makes a season like 2021 so special? What makes the 1992 season in NASCAR so special? It's because it doesn't happen every year. When you try to guarantee it to happen every year, it doesn't feel as special when it comes down to a checkered flag.
Think about it, the way with the British Touring Car Championship as well, and I don't know how they do it, it always goes down to the last race of the year because of how the point system is worked out.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, what are we on the run now of? 14 years? It's always gone down to the final? And that's purely by luck. It's insane.
And that's on the full season point thing.
Yeah, full season point.
Yeah, IndyCar was doing that before Alex Palou started dominating within the last couple of years. I think they were on a stretch of 18 years in a row. I think it came down to the last race. So I want to catch up on the chat here because I see we've got some comments.
We need a full show on this, I feel.
That's what it's turning into at this point. Yeah.
Another of our off-season shows that need to be added to the list.
Okay, lost all respect to
McReynolds. I wouldn't go that far. They're entitled to their opinions. They've accomplished a great deal in the sport, far more than I could dream of accomplishing, especially in Larry Mack's case. I disagree with their opinions on this issue, and I wish they had gone about it in a slightly different way. That's all. I wouldn't say I've lost all respect for them.
Yeah, so the radio team just beat the drum that NASCAR wants to hear and doesn't want to discuss any position. Are we basically just calling the NASCAR radio team basically a version of Fox News? Beats the drum, but nothing actually ever gets changes. I think I can say that as a Brit.
I don't want to open that can of worms either here, but it does seem like they are. But yeah, again, they are hesitant to provide any sort of criticism about this sport, and I understand that from a certain perspective, but I do think at some point certain things get to be too objective that they need to be called out. Not just on this issue. There's a whole host of other issues.
Yeah, you can watch the Grid Network launching on CBS next year as well. I think there's a vacant slot there at night. Now, the biggest stars show up and shine the brightest in the biggest moments, which is what we want. Give me 3 race championship round as well.
Yeah.
I want to
I
say
agree,
hi to
Brian.
Brian. I met him at Sonoma, and glad to see that he's watching here. And I will say I would consider that an improvement. I think my single biggest issue with what we do now is this sport is too chaotic. We saw it in 2016. Carl Edwards appeared to be on his way to a championship, and you had Dylan Lupton, of all people, lose a tire. That brought out a caution, completely changed the outcome of the race, and therefore the entire season's championship. If you have a 3-race championship round, I still don't love it. I still don't love the format at all, but it leaves less room for error and fewer variables that can have a direct impact on that one winner-take-all race. That's the single biggest issue I have, and that would be a fix for that.
And that's been discussed in the round, hasn't it? About them, that was talked about 6 weeks ago. There was some internet chatter about perhaps changing that and having a longer championship round.
Look at that, won 3 races. Kurt Busch, the first chase driver with 8 wins, came short of the title by 8 points. It isn't to Kurt Busch as well. And I think everybody got riled up after Logano won last year because everyone was like, doesn't really deserve it. And I was one and thought, he sort of. Go on.
Yeah, that's another great point there. Yeah, but we could open the overtime can of worms too, because Austin Dillon should have won that race on pace and merit before the Stenhouse crash.
And if Alex Bowman hadn't been disqualified at the Roval, Logano wouldn't have been through. So you can't have the list too.
Yeah. Yes, and I'm not. You've seen, and I've seen, because I've been tweeting about this the last 24, 48 hours. I've seen people in my replies talk about how Logano doesn't deserve his championship. There are people that say that. I'm not one of them. Like I said, I'm not one of the people that's saying, look, SVG's 26 in points or whatever. He doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs. He's won 3 races. The rules are the rules. They're the same for everybody. He's really good on road and street courses. More power to him. You can criticize.
Yeah.
The other thing I wish we could separate. You can criticize the system without criticizing the individuals who play it to their advantage, because again, the rules are the same for everybody out there. It's not like Joey Logano says, "Oh, well, I am great at the championship race at Phoenix, and this is a system that I'd like, and NASCAR is going to listen to everything I say. Here's the system." Of course, he didn't come up with this. He didn't ask for this. It's the same for everyone.
I love Denver's point here.
Can I just pick back off Denver's point here about the consistency stuff? Chase Elliott this year, granted, Sunday didn't go his way. He's won a race, and look at how consistent he's been. Yeah. And if he continues to be that consistent, he might find himself in the championship race at Phoenix.
He's been that good this year. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if he wins, then it's the opposite to the Logano argument for me. I know there's still a long way to go, but
I don't know, because now we're coming to the Brickyard, aren't we? And everyone's been going, SVG might go well here. And I hope he does, because then it might give people who are saying, he doesn't deserve to be there. Oh, maybe he does. Because
everyone's remembering the Darrell Waltrip comments of the road course races should go well at Martinsville because they need to use the brakes. Well, it didn't work out quite well for Juan Pablo Montoya at Indianapolis in that race where he should have won.
No, it didn't. And again, there's a lot of things about Juan Pablo coming into it as well. Now, top 4 should have automatically bide to the round of 12. Oh.
Regular season champion, I agree. Top 4, I think that's...
one,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, that if you win the regular season, you should be automatically in. That I agree with, because otherwise there's just nothing to it at the moment. There's no merit to it. And sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
And, of course, they give them all those extra playoff points for being the regular season championship. That doesn't automatically put them in, but it kind of gives them a helping hand. And we saw what happened with Martin Truex Jr. a couple of years ago when he was awful in the playoffs, but he kept making his way through with all his playoff points. The Supercar playoff is better than NASCAR playoff. You can say that, Denver, but we haven't actually seen it play out yet.
Yeah, we've got to wait.
the first go over, and we've got the last round of the regular season at Queensland in a couple of weeks' time before we go into Enduros. So, yes, we've not seen it come full circle. We don't have a data set, let's say, to go off of on that one.
What about BSB?
Well, and they've changed theirs, haven't they? Because that used to be more similar to the NASCAR one in terms of you get to a certain point and the people above the cut line would be in, and then they would chop them after every round, I think it was, and rounds were 3 races. Now they've changed it over the last couple of years where you the races towards the end of the season pay more points. It's still a full season championship as such, but the points differences in the later races pay more points. And again, BSB, much like touring cars, a couple of, not all of them, but a couple down the years, Tommy Hill and John Hopkins springs instantly to mind, and Ryde and Bridewell last year at Brands Hatch. Incredible races when it was whoever finishes in front of the other wins the championship.
But I've just realised why my chair broke all those months ago with the gas cylinder. The line's been cut. Well, I've just been fiddling with it down the bottom. I've just seen it's got a clean cut in the line. So if that was me brakes, someone's cut me brakes on my chair. So someone's obviously, it's Danica Patrick. She's after me again. He's like Mohammed Ben Salah's just having a go at me. Let's not pretend like the top 2 to 4 guys in the playoff standings don't already have a fairly simple path to the championship race as long as they don't mess their shots. Yeah, it kind of is as well. I think we need a long show on this. I think we need a podcast, episode coming up on this. Why are people mad that Logano has adjusted to being able to take advantage of the format better than anybody else? It's just, I think, because last year it was how he did it. I think that was the thing because of all the stuff that started.
I think last year was particularly extreme. It's probably about as extreme as it's ever going to get because of how he won the one race that he did in Nashville, because of how he got into the round of 8, because of how low his average finish was in comparison to the other champions under this format. And people make the argument like you could finish last in every race if you win one of the first 26, and then you could win the first race in the round of 16 and then finish last again twice. And I see this. It's going to be a little while before we get to it, but Matthew Owen's making the comment about how we don't need buys, we don't need teams checking out for 3+ weeks. I don't know. If you win the first race in the round of 16, I think you get to check out for 2+ weeks, right? I mean, you're already in the next round. You can just spend the next 2 weeks as like a testing session to gain data for similar tracks throughout the remainder of the playoffs.
It's why I said just get rid of it.
Yeah.
If you get rid of it,
that's basically a buy right there, right? We kind of have buys as the system currently stands. When you think about it.
Yeah. Also to Brian's point about Logano before, we've talked about the reasons kind of why. Also, it was Joey, and not a lot of people outwardly are. If it had been someone else, maybe it might have been different. And we saw what happened to Ryan Blaney the year before when he, did his miraculous couple of wins towards the end of the season, got him in, and then got him to the championship. But Joey, of course, not the massive fan favorite that other people are. That again, he was up against in that championship race last year.
The glove on the speedway. The glove. That was what did it for me. Start of the year, I thought, here we go. It's going to be one of those years, is it? A reminder that this format is better than pre-stages when regular season accomplishments, playoff points, were awarded 0. Now, the regular season story matters light years more than in 2014. That's true. It does actually matter now.
What we have now is better than what we had from 2014 to 2016. That is an objective fact, in my opinion. Because at least now the playoff points carry over. And I know Matthew grew up a diehard Jeff Gordon fan. Jeff Gordon certainly could have used some of those in 2014. And who knows how that would have rewritten the history books. But yeah, what we have now is an improvement from what we did the first 3 years of the elimination format. I will say that.
Do we have any more comments coming through? Because I have just seen the time. As long as there is cutoffs, we still like to see 2024 Martinsville fiasco.
Yeah.
No, it's time for the whiskey.
It's still going to happen. I still think it will always happen in some shape or form. I feel like they did not quash that last year in a major way that they could have done. Another one from Matthew says, if you take away the winning in, you take away NASCAR having the most important and intense regular season in major American sports. Every week is meaningful, unlike other sports leagues.
What if we just take it away for the playoffs?
So if you win the first 26, you're in. If you win the round of 16 opener, you're not in the round of 12. Is that what you're saying, Josh?
It just gives you a winning point in the point standings.
Yeah. I think people have suggested that, but again, I feel like if you start taking away those kinds of characteristics from this format, then what's the point of having the format?
Hang on. If we've learned anything from the past 48 hours, is the fact that NASCAR can change the rules mid-season. We've had 4 rule changes in the past 2 days. We can change anytime we like.
I mean, yeah, you're not. They put a 13th driver in the chase. They took this. They brought the stage cautions back for the Roval a couple of years ago.
Sure, Helio got into the 500.
That too. I wonder how many times that rule book has been adjusted this year. Thinking about it, it's got to be a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything to help a court case, eh? But if you win, I wonder if they learned that off. Could be a president, could it? Now, but if you win, both of them actually. But if you win the first race, you can go after the next two. Yeah, that's the point. If you win the first race and you win, what's to stop Byron coasting throughout the rest of the year? Which I think he pretty much has done, hasn't he? Byron has coasted. He's had a couple more wins, but he's coasted.
But you could do this if you win the regular season championship, get a bye to the round of 12. You could still go out and win the round of 16. Anyway, it's not like you would. You know, it's not like a one seed in the NFL playoffs where they don't play that week. I don't think you would be suggesting they're going to sit out for 3 weeks. Like they could still go. I mean, Logano did that in 2015, right? He swept the whatever it was round of 12, I think.
Yes.
And then he went to Martinsville, and absolutely nothing of significance happened at that race. We remember that.
Have you seen the Instagram with the Fox guys calling it? It's fantastic. Brian makes a great point here. Winning race in this car is difficult as ever. Thus, it should come with an auto advance. Are we also seeing possibly the problem with the conformation is the fact that the Gen 7 is so hard to drive? I love that. Rules it with a pencil can be erased. I like that. I'm so fed up about that.
I'll defer to Matt here to an extent, because I've seen people make the argument. I think Tanner actually said this on one of the Grid Live weekend shows, that if SVG was doing this, say, in the Marcus Ambrose era of like Gen 5 or Gen 6, maybe he wouldn't have picked it up as quickly, because the Gen 7 or the next gen car has more characteristics that resemble what he's used to in supercars. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. But
yeah, no, I agree. And I mentioned this. When did I mention this? One of our USRN calls of one of the road course races recently, where in that era of the road courses, we had Marcus winning and maybe AJ would pick up a win. You had more carnage and chaos going on because the car was absolutely awful to drive on road courses and no one could do it properly. In comes someone that can do it properly, and look what happens. Because this car is more a road coursey car than the old car was, which was just really made for turning left and would only have to turn right twice a year at Watkins and at Sonoma.
There's now a precedent coming in saying that maybe we should be having a few more road courses then, but we're going to have a podcast. I think there's so much wrong with NASCAR.
People complaining about having more than 13% of the season on road courses already. So
you thought Formula 1 was bad. Formula 1 this year is a breeze compared to what NASCAR's been like, and IndyCar. In fact, the entire of America at the moment just seems like it's on fire. I hope everybody's okay with it.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Keep them coming as well as we move on. But we are going to end the segment there. We're going to have to do a podcast on this. I feel like it'd be like 3 days long, and we'll all be rowing. But it would be fantastically fun to do so. We'll have to have a word with Joe about that. Ben, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight, even though you are insanely jet lagged from you dotting around the entirety of the country. What are you looking forward to coming into this weekend? And please do not mention NASCAR.
Well, I guess I'm looking forward to, Formula 1 being back is going to be interesting. Max to Mercedes rumors have kind of been a whole whirlwind here. People are now using flight trackers, I guess, to try to get leads on conversations that are happening, which is kind of crazy to me. I think he's going to be back in a Red Bull at this point. It sounds like Toto's committed to Kimi and George going forward, at least for 26. But I am, again, I'm looking forward to getting back to what I think will be a proper full season championship fight between the McLaren boys, and we'll see how that plays out there. I think Max is, I hope that I'm not wishing any ill will upon him, but it'd be nice to get a new champion and nice to have some parity here. And I think he's simply too far back at this point. The Red Bull car simply isn't good enough. So I'm looking forward to that. And Josh, Matt, I'm looking forward to being in your neck of the woods, because if you can believe it, a week from tomorrow, I'm going to be hopping on a flight to London to visit my cousins who live in the UK. So
Oh, nice.
Oh,
I've got even more travel coming up, if you can believe it. I've taken 2 back-to-back trips to the West Coast. Now I'm back here for a week and a half. Then I got on a flight across the pond to go in the other direction. So
how long are you here for?
about 5 days, 5 or 6 days. I think I fly in
okay.
on a red eye. We'll land in the morning on August 1st, and then we come back on August 6th. So about 5.5
fantastic.
days.
Perfect time. It's going to be nice weather. You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Where in the world is Ben Schneider? Yeah. New game. Where's Ben?
Where's Ben?
I'm back in New England for now, but I will be So again, stay tuned for I'm sure Encore is going to look a little bit different. Should be back to normal this week, and then we'll probably get a fill-in host for next week again, or we'll push it back. We'll figure something out. But we'll and thank you, Denver, as well. I appreciate the support. Thank you to everybody again. Brian in particular, great to see him in the chat tonight. Met him at Sonoma in the media center. It was great working that for Brock again, and great to be back with you guys. Even when we don't always see eye to eye on how we crown our champions, or discourse going on about whatever's happening in the sport. But it's always a pleasure, guys, and I wish that sometimes the Twitter conversations that I have with the bots, I guess we can call them. That's what NASCAR calls us, right? Just a bunch of bots. I wish that sometimes they could be as pleasant as these conversations that we have here on the Grid Network. And I'm thankful to you guys for allowing me onto your show to have to have a place where we can continue the conversation in this manner.
Well, this is how discourse works and how conversation works. I know as an American, you might not be familiar with it, with your debates usually going down a different route. But yes.
Don't remind me. That was the worst debate in the history. Well, we want to open that. You guys have been on for an hour and 18 minutes, and you're 5 hours ahead of me. I think it's almost midnight over there, right?
It's 2 minutes to midnight.
2 minutes away.
Please go ahead, finish the rest of your show. Have a great rest of your evening here and early morning, as it will be in a couple minutes. And I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Ben. Take care. Safe travels, mate. See you soon.
Appreciate it.